Hey guys, CryptoDad here again. Thanks for joining me on the Friday night live stream Q&A from Michigan, where you can throw out questions and I'll do my best to get them answered. We'll talk about Bitcoin, we'll talk about the markets, we'll talk about related cryptocurrency news, and I'll move some crypto around. So join in. Let's see here. Whoops. We'll get it someday. All right, I'm a little behind the eight ball today. Didn't get a chance to post up the news stories like I usually do. But our biggest story is pretty much the crypto carnage that occurred this week. So we'll talk a little bit about that. We'll talk about where the prices have been over the last week. And we'll get to some news stories that I have in mind. But I didn't get a chance to prepare like I normally do. Been kind of a busy day. So I'll kind of let you guys guide this as best you can. So let's jump in. All right, so the first thing I'm going to need to do is get my screen situated here so you guys can see all of it. All right, let's get this out of the way. All right, so I generally, and I've got that screen on. I don't need that camera at the moment. That's for showing you my ledger, which we'll talk about the ledger. And let me take this. Oh, it is down. Okay, isn't it? Is it just me? Oh, wrong monitor. My bad. There we go. There we go. Okay. There we go. Okay, now we're cooking. Okay, what's going on here? Come on. Just to take it a minute to do its thing, right? There it goes. Kind of sluggish today. Time for a reinstall of Windows 10. I'm a big believer in that, and I do it periodically. You know, to just troubleshoot your Windows and try and figure out what's slowing it down. Or, I mean, Windows performance degrades naturally, just like a human, right? We get old, we get slow. Operating systems on a hard disk do the same. And over time, your performance degrades. So what I do is I have a data drive where I keep and I'll show you, this might help to illustrate what I'm talking about. So if we look at our Windows file system, you can see you've got desktop, downloads, documents, pictures, videos. These are built-in folders that Windows kind of manages for you. But you can manage them as well. You can kind of go properties and then change the location. Like here, you'll notice that my documents is on the D drive, right? And as well as, I think my downloads is on the C drive. I think I left that on the C drive, yeah. But pictures, if you'll notice, pictures is on my D drive, right? So what that does is it makes it very easy for me. See there. See there. They're all over on the D drive. All the, document type stuff, pictures and things I save, and so it's very easy for me just to do a wipe of my C drive and reinstall Windows, and then I just need to reinstall my applications, and then, or actually before I do any of that, the first thing I do when I get Windows reinstalled is I go to the default documents folder and change the location over to the D drive and point it to that documents folder that I have over here. And then they suddenly get these icons, right? So anyway, it's good to do a wipe and reinstall of Windows 10. Once you get used to it, it's not so bad. So anyway, Let's talk about crypto, right? Let's talk about the markets. The markets took quite a little dip starting Monday. Things were looking pretty good over the weekend, and I was thinking with the coronavirus talk and spooking the stock market that the crypto market would you do the safe haven thing, but it didn't. It just kind of crashed along with the stock market. Now, let's take a look at Bitcoin because it's kind of a barometer of the market. And let's look at the 7-day. So let's see. Monday was the 17th, right? Let's see if we can go back. Was that? Was it just me? 24th, pardon me. Okay. So on the 24th is where we started getting the drop down, right? And then I guess it looked like things might come back, right? We got the drop, a little more of a drop here, and then it looked like things might be coming back around 96, right? And then we got this drop here, and then it looked like things might come back up, and then we dropped below 9, right? And this was like that was like Wednesday, right? So things were looking pretty grim. And then here we are. We still haven't managed to crawl back up over 9,000 yet, right? So the crypto markets took a pullback, but not as precipitous as the Dow, right? The Dow really took a dive. Now, percentage-wise, Bitcoin percentage-wise has pretty high volatility. So, I mean, you could see a 10, 20% drop or rise in Bitcoin, over the course of a few days. It's not uncommon. So it's not really, you can't really apply the percentage drops, compare them to what's going on in the stock market. But the drops in the stock market were particularly out of the ordinary. So there's a lot of doom and gloom in the air. So my question is, when is Bitcoin going to start acting like the safe haven that a lot of people claim it is? And the conclusion here is that you really can't judge markets very well. It's kind of a crapshoot. There may be, a certain amount of manipulation. There may be, of course, the greed fear factor. You've got the fundamentals factor. Some people say Bitcoin has no fundamentals. Other people that believe in Bitcoin say that it does have fundamentals. It's a decentralized digital currency with an immutable blockchain and a predetermined amount. So it's deflationary. So but that's all our opinions. And I'm assuming if you're here, you probably believe in Bitcoin as well as I do, right? So let's go over and pop out chat. A lot of people here tonight. That's good. And I've just been blabbering away and not looking at what anybody's saying. So let me greet my regulars and any newcomers. Scott Lee is here, which is great. Chadwick is here. And Carmen B is here. Ryan is here. Tig is here. Scott Robertson is here. Paul B is here. Shah Yosef is here again. Problem from ledger updating, so it was too much worry. Thank you for trying to help me. I hope, Shah, that you got your ledger updated, if that was your issue. Sometimes it's a little problematic getting your ledger updated. If a ledger is going to fail, it usually fails during those updates. But I've done quite a few, so I know it gets a little wonky at times, and people panic sometimes and then cause more harm from their attempts to remedy the problem than they would have had they just kept trying. So, yeah, it's a complicated little device, and its first function is to store private keys. And it's not really a user-friendly device because it's just not designed to be a user-friendly device like an iPad or an iPhone. It's a small little device, and it does what it does. So hang in there, guys. And if and I believe I just used my template. So if you're having issues with a ledger and you need some help, check out my ledger videos. In the description of this video, you can just scroll down and let's see here. Let me go over here to my little home page here. And let's look at the live video. So if you just take a look in the description of this particular video, you can just scroll down here. There's a bunch of links to my ledger videos. So, and then also if you're, I was trying to spell Carnage for the title here. If you just type CryptoDad and like mine are auto-completed, but if you put like Ledger X or Ledger Recovery, CryptoDad, Ledger Recovery, or Ledger Restore, anything like that, you're going to get hits on my videos. So if you're stuck during an update, I've got update firmware videos, I've got restore from seed phrase videos, I've got setup out of the box videos, I got all kinds of stuff to help you along with Ledger. And also some other wallets too. I've got some Trezor videos. I've got Electrum Bitcoin wallet videos. I've got some My Ether wallet videos if you're, dealing with Ethereum. So if you're running into trouble and you need like a step-by-step guide, I would direct you to that sort of stuff, because I really don't have time to do that kind of stuff here, but I will do my best to get like questions answered that are, if you're stuck, right? And then also double check in the description. I've got all my my wonderful partners, the people that I believe in, that I work with on a daily basis on my own. I've got a Crypto.com app, which I'm in and out pretty much several times a day. I believe in Crypto.com. I've got my Ledger affiliate link down there, and I'm on this Ledger every day, which is why, I do this, because a lot of people that store their crypto on a Ledger, they don't do it every day, and they might leave it in a drawer for 3 months and then come back and not quite remember the steps they need to go through. That's why I'm here. I do it every day. To me, it's like riding a bike. So I'll try to walk you through this kind of stuff. And then, of course, the Brave browser, which has been getting a lot of good press lately. I invite you to use my affiliate link to download Brave browser. Doesn't cost you a thing. The BINANCE US is another great cryptocurrency exchange that you can sign yourself up for if you want to buy some crypto. I might have a, I guess I don't have the Coinbase link in this particular video, but I would invite you to check out Coinbase if you're just getting started in crypto. It's a great place to buy several of the top cryptocurrencies. And if you're too scared to use your own wallet, then you can just keep your crypto stored on Coinbase or Binance US. Safe places to trade crypto. And I just dropped my ledger. All right. So Scott's here, okay? Talking politics. I hope you're cooking something good tonight, Scott, or this afternoon where you are. Chadwick is here. Scott, why is Bitcoin not syncing on Ledger Live? What do I need to do? All right, let's take a look at that. All right, so your first remedy, and when you say syncing, I'm assuming you're not getting your current balance, or you're not getting the current price, or you're just getting this spinning thing, whatever, right? So when you first launch Ledger Live, it should sync to the price, the current price of all of your cryptocurrencies that you have, in Ledger Live. You've installed an app on the device in the manager, and you've set up an account in Ledger Live, which basically creates a wallet based on a private key, which gets stored on this device. And then, so when you first launch Ledger Live, it should sync. Now, if it doesn't, there's your first thing to try is up here where it says synchronize. You can click on that, and it will attempt to resync, right? And that may or may not work. Now, before I go too deep into troubleshooting the syncing in Ledger Live, think about your own situation, your own environment, right? Sometimes the trouble might be environmental, right? Look at your computer. Maybe you need to reboot your computer if you haven't for a few days, right? Maybe your modem is connected. It says you're connected to the internet, but you're not quite, right? You're not getting a good, stable, clean internet connection. So a nice reboot of your computer might just fix that problem. And I'm sorry if I'm telling you something you've already done. That always happens, right? So, but I'm just giving you the recipe for troubleshooting, right? And also, you might even need to reboot your modem, right? Power cycle your modem. Unplug your modem for about 10 seconds. Plug it back in. Let it reconnect to the internet. Do a nice reboot of your computer. Make sure you got a good, clean, stable connection to the internet, right? And then relaunch Ledger Live, okay? Now, if none of that works, there are some additional tools that you can go to in settings. So if you go up here to the little gear shift icon, over to the help section, there are some things that you can do that will help with the sync issues. The first one is clear cache. Yes, there is. She's been out of town, but she does want the box brought home tonight. Sorry, working. Clear cache is the easiest, quickest, least invasive way to fix the sync issue. If you do a clear cache, it sort of does like a reset of all of its, I would say, parameters, not really setting. It's not going to do a full reset of your Ledger Live or anything like that, right? It's just going to clear out a cache, right? And it might help get yourself resynced up to the blockchain, right? Now, if you've done that several times and it's still not syncing up, you might, before you go crazy, you might want to just back away from the computer and try a different time of day. There are times when the Ledger, and you can see up here that my syncing is going nuts over here. So I'm having trouble syncing right now. So the reason I say walk away is that sometimes it's a Ledger issue. Ledger has servers. The servers where you do your genuine checks, right? So unfortunately, the Ledger Live is dependent on connecting to Ledger servers for some things, right? Like I can still see the last balances that I had, even though I'm not connected directly to the internet or Ledger, right? I can always see the last known balances, right? And then let's see, if we go to portfolio, oh yeah, there's no total price of Bitcoin. So that's weird. You okay over there? Okay. Yeah. Let's look here. Oh, okay. Yeah. It's showing us. It's showing me the current price of Bitcoin, which looks like, and this finally got the check mark. So, but if for whatever reason you're having like a real issue, maybe walk away from the computer and try again, right? Later, in the morning or later at night, whatever your case may be. Maybe it's local issues that you're having in your area, right? Your cable, your internet provider. So if you've tried all that and it's been a day or two and you're still not syncing, then you could go that extra step, which is reset Ledger Live. Now this is a pretty severe step to take, because what happens when you do a reset of Ledger Live is that it erases all these accounts, right? The accounts will disappear. It does not reset the device, right? The private keys still stay here on the device, but Ledger Live gets wiped. So you would have to, you still have your apps on here. It doesn't wipe the apps. It doesn't wipe the wallets. You simply, but when you launch Ledger Live, it'll be empty, right? So you'll have to connect your Ledger, and I'll go ahead and connect mine, and start adding accounts again, right? You go to add account, then you add your, you tell it you want to add a Bitcoin account, and it'll scan the device for any existing wallets, and it'll find this wallet, like this one right here. It would refine this one and then give me the option of adding it back into Ledger Live. But that's, a lot of people, when they do that Ledger Live reset, they freak out when they see an empty accounts window and they think all their crypto's been erased. But it hasn't. It's just been taken out of Ledger Live. How long has it been since you've done a full reinstall of Windows, right? Are you running Windows 7? Are you running Windows 8? Are you running Windows 10 and you've been running it for like the last 5 years? I mean, think about your system too. If your system's all gummed up, then it could be causing issues in Ledger Live too, right? Like I said, always think about your environment that you're working in as well. Have we beat this subject into the ground yet? I want you guys to be able to use Ledger Live in a stress-free way, right? Computers have their quirks, but in general, there's a reason for everything. So just because things are glitched doesn't mean you can't figure out what's going on and fix it, right? So like I said, there are times when my computer is just due for a full reinstall of Windows 10. That's just me, right? There may be a time when Ledger Live just needs to be reinstalled. So when I do my full install of Windows, which I might do in the next month or so, of course my Ledger Live will be wiped and I'll reinstall that from scratch. And that might fix issues of, not syncing. All right. So anyway, I got the device connected, and I'm going to look at some more questions. And what I wanted to focus tonight on was liquidation. So throw up any comments or questions that you may have about liquidating your Bitcoin. I spend a lot of time explaining how to store Bitcoin in your own wallet. And that's from the direction of buying it on an exchange and storing it in your own wallet, right? But I realize that sometimes I don't fully cover the scenario of wanting to move it back to an exchange so that you can liquidate it. And we'll just talk about liquidation in the sense that you might want to liquidate your Bitcoin at some point, right? Like a rainy day. And I want to talk a little bit about what the psychology behind that, right? So, but let me do some put out some fires and maybe check to see who's okay. Yeah, there was a lot of conversation going on here. All right, so Scott was asking about the syncing. We've done the clear cache. We're talking a little bit about the market. Joseph Medina's here. Mr. David is here. And I've got if you don't mind, Mr. David, I'm going to talk a little bit about our conversation around when is a good time to liquidate your Bitcoin, if ever, right? So we'll talk about that a little bit. EKS is here. Welcome. The positive Square had good earnings because of the Cash App, which allows one to buy, sell Bitcoin. Very bullish for crypto, in my humble opinion. I'm a big believer in the Cash App myself. I've demoed it here on the channel. You've watched me use it to buy Bitcoin. It's a great tool for liquidating Bitcoin as well. And we'll talk about that too. So thanks for bringing that up, EKS. Parlay Cross is here. Hello. G. Graham is here. Chadwick, I'm not a big cannabis guy. And I don't like to spend a lot of time talking about little coins. No disrespect intended. ETH updating from Ledger. Okay, that's good. So I guess Shah was having some issues connecting and syncing. So I hope that all of these syncing troubleshooting tips that I laid out at the beginning might help Shah as well. Treasure. Yeah, I don't do as many Treasure videos as my Ledger videos. Okay, TR763. If I have a Ledger X and an S, do I need to frequently synchronize the S if X is my primary? It may not necessarily. It depends on how you've got Ledger Live laid out. If you'll notice here, I do have an Ethereum account tied to my Ledger Nano S, and I also have this Ledger Black account tied to my Ledger Nano S as well. These are two accounts that are associated with my Ledger S. So the accounts are still in my Ledger Live, but my main, my primary device, as you say, is my Ledger Nano X. So all of these other accounts that don't say, this one says X, but most of the ones that don't say anything are connected to the Ledger X. But as you can see, so I got these two accounts that I can keep an eye on, even without having the S connected. And they'll sync, like if there were balances in them, I could like make sure that they're syncing up and keep an eye on the value of those just from Ledger Live. So it's not, imperative to connect the S just to check the balances, right? But you might want to connect the S occasionally to check for firmware updates, because I've had some people that have had issues with like a Ledger S that they bought in 2017 or 2018, stuck in a drawer, and then all of a sudden they woke up one day and said, let me sell some Bitcoin, the market's up, and then they go to connect that device and they're trying to get their Bitcoin moved or whatever they're trying to do, and it's behind on firmware, right? I guess some people have had the issue where it's so far behind on firmware that it won't even like update right? There's issues. So those issues can be resolved. I have a lot of firmware update videos, and there's a certain number in the firmware progression on the S. I think it's 1.4.1, where anything below that, you'll need to update it first to 1.4.2, if I'm remembering correctly. And once you've updated to 1.4.2, then you can go ahead and update it on up to the latest one, which is 1.6.0, I think. Maybe 1.6.1, I'm not sure. But there's a cutoff there, right? But Ledger Live will do that. I've worked with people, and I've had them where, we sit down and I'm, Zoom viewing with them, and the first thing is that their Ledger Live is out of date, so we run the update, get Ledger Live up to its latest version, right? All the other troubleshooting that needs to be done, and then we connect the Ledger, and it wants it to update the firmware to 1.4.2, and then we get that done, and then after that it says it wants to update to 1.6, and it can be done, right? It's just a progression. But if you regularly connect your devices, then you won't get caught blindsided, trying to get 2 or 3 years worth of updates done in one session, right? You don't want to put yourself in that position. So it's a good idea to occasionally connect the device, let it sync up, go into Manager. Oh, and then you've also got the app issue, right? Unfortunately, Ledger does not update the apps. I'll show you what I mean here. They don't have upgrades for the apps. So the only way, Echo, turn off plant light. Right, that purplish glow. Right, so it's asking me to allow Ledger Live or Ledger Manager on my device. I'll hit both buttons, right? There are times where you are not running the latest version of the app, right? So for example, let's look at Litecoin. Litecoin is at version 1.3.21. So let me go into my Litecoin. Whoops. And I'll hit both buttons there. And of course, now it moves out of Manager. Let's go over 1.3.17. So I'm okay. Right? Oh, 1. Was I? Oh, right. I'm not quite at the latest version of the Litecoin app, right? So there's no upgrade feature in Ledger Live, right? So you're going to have to just hit the trash can and uninstall Litecoin to get it off the Ledger. And sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't. Looks like it might be working. Come on, baby. Okay. All right. Got it. All right. Now that Litecoin is off, I'm going to reinstall. All right. Oops. All right. See, this is what happens. Now that I'm trying to install the latest version of Litecoin, the latest version of Litecoin depends on the latest version of the Bitcoin app. So let's go into the Bitcoin app and we'll look on the screen. It's version 1.3.21. 1321. All right, let's go into the Bitcoin app. 1.3.21, right? In the Bitcoin app, let's go over 1.3.17, right? So I'm behind. So it looks like they ran an upgrade to a lot of these apps recently. And now and here's the kicker. It won't let me reinstall Litecoin until I've reinstalled Bitcoin, right? Because the Litecoin app depends on the Bitcoin app. They must share code or something. So, but let me try to uninstall Bitcoin. It's not going to let me do it. It's going to tell me that there are other apps that depend on Bitcoin. Oh, it didn't. Okay. I think if you've got Bitcoin Cash, it won't allow you to uninstall Bitcoin because it's like it knows that you've got some other apps that are depending on it, right? But in tonight's case, I think the only other app that I had that actually depended on Bitcoin was the Litecoin app, looks like. All right, so now let's reinstall the Bitcoin app. And mind you, this does not erase the wallets. I mean, it does, but it brings them right back. But you can just consider it that it's not erasing the wallet. And here we go. That's looking good. Close that. And you'll notice that I don't need to go back and reinstall the accounts, right? The accounts did not get affected at all by just moving, putting an app on and off, right? But let's check our version of Bitcoin now. Let's go into both buttons. Then I'm going to use this button to move over to version, and there we are, 1.3.21. Navigate over to quit. It takes me back. Now we can go down here to Litecoin and install Litecoin, and I should get the latest version of Litecoin now. All right, we'll just hit that. I don't think I even have a Litecoin account on here at the moment. I was just using Litecoin as an example because I have had it on here before. And there it is, 1.3.21, right? So, in addition to firmware updates, come on, Rex. In addition to firmware updates, you need to think about the apps too. So unfortunately, because there's no upgrade feature, you do need to periodically go through and just uninstall all of the apps and reinstall them. That's your easy, and you saw me. I didn't have to reinstall accounts. I didn't have to really do anything except just go through this uninstall, reinstall procedure. Now I've got, let's see, at the moment, there's like 8 per screen. It looks like I have about 15 or 16 apps on there. It's not going to take you all day to just go through and delete every app you've got on here and then start over. You know, reinstall Bitcoin, Ethereum, XRP, whatever apps you're running. You know, and if you're only running 3 apps, if you've only got Bitcoin, Litecoin, and Ethereum stored on this thing, it'll just take you a few minutes to uninstall all 3 apps and reinstall them. And that way you'll get the latest version of the app. If you don't have the latest version of the app, you can run into issues, right? Things could go wonky on you. So yes, it's a good idea to reconnect that Ledger S on a pretty regular basis to make sure you've got the latest version of the apps and the latest version of the firmware. All right, so let's close this for a second. My arm's getting tired holding that thing up. Let's see. Frying pork chops. Wow, Scott, that's funny because I just fried pork chops for dinner, if you can believe that. I kid you not. I fried up 3 pork chops, 1 for me, 1 for my daughter, and 1 for my wife, who was sleeping because she just got back from Jakarta yesterday. She was out for a few weeks, and the family was going crazy without mommy around. She was visiting her mom and her dad, and her sister came too. And, you know, it was a 5-year thing. She hadn't been there in 5 years. But I want to show you this. Sorry about that, guys. I wanted to show you this. This is one of the many things that she brought me. But this is like the coolest effing coffee cup that you can get, right? Starbucks has these coffee cups. Now, I have a Michigan coffee cup, and I have an LA coffee cup, but I don't know anybody that has a Jakarta Starbucks cup. This thing is awesome. She bought me some batik shirts, which I was going to wear for the live stream, but I didn't get a chance to. And these are like handmade batik. So if you're not familiar with... Whoops. Batik is like the tuxedo in Indonesia. Like when you go to a wedding, like everybody will, like the groom's guys would have matching batik theme, right? These aren't even that great. These aren't even, yeah, there we go. Indonesian batik, right? Yeah, like this. I think she brought me one like this. Not the exact pattern, but really cool. And another one similar to this. So next week, I'll wear one of my new batiks. Yeah, beautiful shirts, man. So anyway, all right. Let me look at some more questions, and I still want to talk about liquidation.
Wait, Logan, are you able to get like the Spotify?
Our financial freedom is near. Yes, indeed.
Like you start listening to Spotify on your computer and you're able to
When uninstalling, reinstalling ERC20 tokens, how do you reinstall Tezos and others on the ledger? Um, the ERC20 tokens, you'll uninstall and reinstall the Ethereum app, right? So I could have just as easily uninstalled the Ethereum app, right? So we can uninstall my Ethereum app. We'll do that. You can see it's there. Okay, there it goes, right? It's being uninstalled. But uninstalling the Ethereum app does not affect the accounts, right? Let's just reinstall the Ethereum app.
or search up 02.
All right, and there we go. Done. Now I'm running the latest version of the Ethereum app. Let's just double check it. So 1.2.11. Let's go over here. 1.2.11. We're in business, right? And then we can go back over here to accounts, and as you can see, nothing changed, right? The Ethereum account is still there. Everything's fine, right? And the ERC20 tokens are still there. That pesky little kick token is there too. Blast you, kick token. Poo-pooey on you, kick token, right? But see, that's all I had to do was uninstall and reinstall the Ethereum app to make sure I had the latest version. So, yeah. Always remember the apps on the device are related to your accounts here, of course. You need them to access the accounts, but they're sort of also in a way they're really unrelated too, right? Like I can uninstall and reinstall the apps without affecting my accounts, right? And I can uninstall and reinstall the accounts without affecting the apps, right? So I can easily, let's take this Bitcoin off, right? Let me hit edit account and I'll hit delete. Confirm. Oh my God, did I just delete my Bitcoin? No, I did not, right? I can go, I'm sorry, you can't see that. The add account button, and I'll choose Bitcoin. I'll hit continue. Put this guy back up here. I'll have to be in the Bitcoin app. Sorry, it's getting blurry there. Right? It's just going to scan the device for existing wallets. So let it scan, baby. Let it scan. So this is what we do when we reset Ledger Live. We just go back in and scan for all the private keys that you've got stored on this thing. And it'll find them, right? Any wallets that you've created. And you'll notice mine's going to be really messy because I have a lot of wallets that I've created and abandoned over the course of my ownership of this device. But one in particular that we're looking for is that one that you just saw that had some Bitcoin in it. Notice this one here is dim. Why is it dim? Because it's already in Ledger Live, right? It doesn't need to add it. It just finds it and tells me, oh, it's already in your portfolio, right? It's going to find a few that are already in the portfolio. But it's going to find the one that I deleted and give me the option of adding it back in again. And it's also going to give me the option to create a new account. And of course mine takes a while because I have so many like empty accounts that I'm not using anymore. I don't know why I do that, but I do.
Wait, what if we just spam dance?
All right, so we got that. And by and by, it's going to find that one that's got a balance in it. Okay, see, there's the one that we just deleted. All right. It's still scanning. Okay, so here we go. Let me see if I can help you make sense of this. Existing account. It means that these are accounts that I have created in the past that are currently not in Ledger Live. You'll notice that it's just using its default naming convention, right? I may have had them, they may have been named something else a while back. If you remember, this one didn't have a number in it. It was just native SegWit, right? And as long as I don't have another account named native SegWit, I can go ahead and just rename this, right? So I'm going to deselect all of these because I don't need all of them back in Ledger Live. I just want this one back in, right? You'll also notice here that it's giving me the option of adding an empty account, and it's giving me two options. It's giving me I can use a SegWit address format, or I can use the native SegWit address format. These would be empty. Pardon me. These would be empty wallets, right? And of course, I could rename them something more meaningful rather than Bitcoin 4 and Bitcoin 8, right? And I could even take that SegWit part off if I don't want to see it. But it's the convention is just telling me that this is a SegWit address format and this is a native SegWit address format. You might want to have one of each because some cryptocurrency accounts are not compatible with the new native SegWit format. The native SegWit format is a Bitcoin address that starts with BC1, whereas the SegWit account starts with a 1 or a 3. Right? But notice it's offering me 2 empty accounts if I want to add new accounts, but I don't. Right? So I'm not going to do that, and these accounts are already in there. So let's re-add this one, and while we're here, we can just edit the name, right? And just call it Bitcoin Native SegWit, right? I'll hit Add Account, and I'll close, and lo and behold, there it is, right? I didn't delete my Bitcoin at all. I just deleted the account and then re-added it, right? So pretty straightforward once you get the hang of it. Don't be afraid to delete your accounts. All right, let's go. Let me see here. I've tried downloading the Sync wallet for VE Chain and it failed twice. Any thoughts? I haven't used that Sync wallet in a while. I probably still have it. Okay, mine is fine. The wallet itself is fine. Let's see what I got here. Oops. So let's get out of Bitcoin or Ethereum or whatever I was in. Let's go over to VE Chain. If I have it in here. Do I? Doesn't look like I do. All right. So let's go back to Manager and add that VE Chain. All right, there it is. I'll hit Install. All right. So you can have a cryptocurrency that's, you know, the app's not installed, but the private keys are still remembered in there. All right. I'm going to close this. Let's go over to our VE Chain. It's weird that it says Create Now because it's already been created. So I don't know why. The interface is kind of wonky, right? It says Create Now, and then it gives me the option of using like a local where it creates a, you know, just a plain old private key, which you don't want to do. It's pretty insecure. But I can click on Ledger Live and it remembers, right, what I've got in there, right? And I can do a transfer, and it would, you know, I can use this interface in conjunction with my Ledger Nano. right? I would just enter the VE Chain app when I'm using this wallet. You'll notice it just remembered that I had this account set up. But if I wanted to try and send any of this out, I would need to confirm on the device, right? But the question was, he was trying to download the wallet and it was failing. So go back to those same old troubleshooting steps that we talked about before. Check your environment. Do you have a good connection to the internet? Is your computer up to date and running? Right? Are you running the latest version of Windows with all of the latest updates? Now, it may not be strictly necessary, but always good practice, right? Do you need to reboot your computer? Do you need to reboot your modem? Are you getting a good connection to their website, right? If you can go on other websites and everything else is fine, you can watch a YouTube video, but you can't download their wallet, then we move on to those other troubleshooting steps. Before you go crazy, maybe try a different time of day. Try early in the morning or late at night when traffic is less or more, right? Who knows, when their traffic is highest, Depending if they're in Asia, maybe their traffic is high in the middle of our night, right? Or if you're in the US, if the company is in the US, then maybe their high traffic is during the day. Like in the US, I've noticed that traffic gets heavy because there's a lot of people at home in the US connecting to whatever the service might be it a Ledger Live or whatever. So maybe try late at night. The worst time is in the late afternoon when people in LA and people in New York are both active, right? So like if later in the night in LA, people in New York are in bed, right? So, and then for people in New York, early in the morning when people in LA are still asleep is a good time when the traffic wouldn't be so high. So try different times a day, right? Try a different browser if you're not, being able to download their thing. Or it could be that their servers are down, right? What's the name of this crazy program? VE Chain Sync? No, it's here, right? Download Sync. Seems to be working for me. So it could be an environmental issue for you because it appears to be functioning. So check those environmental issues. Check, check, check. Always look to your own mistakes first, right? Not your mistakes, but I mean your situation. Don't always think that it's something out there that's the problem. Look at, your computer and your internet and, your software and all that stuff. Make sure you're up and running and everything's good. Yeah. Reboot, all that good stuff, right? Your vet is still on VForge. Yeah. So just because your vet, VForge doesn't work anymore, right? Their website doesn't work. So you have to download this wallet now. That VForge website is no longer functioning. But the sync will still connect to your ledger, right? So like if you've never used sync before, when you do a create, like where were we? Right, you'd hit that plus and add a new one. Right, and it would see now it won't even let me abort. Oh, here, abort. Sorry. Right, you would go through this step and then say it's a ledger and connect to it. Right. Could be Windows, yeah. It could be your Windows. I've been having, I have much trouble as you. I've been having trouble with my LBRY. I can't install their latest version. It keeps hanging on me, and I've done everything. Heavy duty troubleshooting might also, if you're getting like really like upset, you can do See, I paused my update because I'm scared shitless of version, whatever the latest version is. 1 point. Yeah, let's see where we are here. Yeah, I don't want to run 1903. I always have problems with 1903. Every time I upgrade to Windows 1903, things go wonky on me. So I roll myself back to 1809. But now they're not going to let me do that anymore. They're going to give me till March, and then they're going to force me to upgrade to 1903, apparently. That kind of sucks. Whatever. It may work now, but the first time I ran 1903, my webcam stopped working because I have a Logitech Brio, and for whatever reason, when I updated to 1903, their Logitech Brio driver wasn't working right. Right? It wasn't even showing up in my device manager. So, and I did everything I could think of, and then I rolled back to 1809, and it was working just fine. So there's always, like, we're always struggling with our software and our versions and all that stuff, right? Yeah, Windows 8.1. I would suggest updating to Windows 10. It's been around like 5 or 6 years now. Probably a good idea. I know it's a chore, but running the latest version of the OS is best practice in my book. There are people that, for whatever reason, they hang back, but you don't want to get caught running Windows 7, right? I have some friends that are still running Windows 7. You know, you don't want to get put in that. Better to run the latest version of the software if applicable, if practicable. I love that word, practicable. That's what General Lee said to A.P. Hill at the Battle of Gettysburg, I think. He said, "Take that hill if practicable." And A.P. Hill did not. And thus the Battle of Gettysburg wore on, right? If Stonewall Jackson had been alive that day, he probably would have taken that hill before Meade got there and reinforced it. But I digress, right? Okay, so I want to talk a little bit about liquidation, right? So, and I'd like you guys to throw out your opinions. I wonder why my webcam is not working. I want you to throw out your opinions on this. So, here's a scenario. You are a Bitcoin hodler, and you have been spending your hard-earned money on Bitcoin on a regular basis for a couple of years, let's say. You buy $100 worth of Bitcoin every pay period, right? Or whatever. You know, you come into some extra money, you throw it into Bitcoin. You throw it into Bitcoin, you throw it into Bitcoin. You won't buy your daughter a Happy Meal at McDonald's because you want to throw more money into Bitcoin, right? You won't buy yourself a new pair of shoes because you've been throwing your money into Bitcoin. You've been throwing your money into Bitcoin. All right. So now that Bitcoin is worth 20 grand, right? Let's put 10 grand, right? Let's say your Bitcoin is worth 10 grand, or let's say all of your cryptocurrencies that you're holding are worth a total of 10 grand, right? Now, you can think of that as an investment in your future, right? That 10 grand could become 100 grand, right? That 10 grand could become 500 grand, right? But right now, today, it's worth 10 grand. And you're saying, I'm going to hold it until it hits the moon. And there's nothing wrong with that, right? We want to hold our Bitcoin. It's best practice to hold our Bitcoin. But what happens when you come up short, right? You need $1,000. Doesn't it that 10 grand worth of Bitcoin or total cryptocurrency value is effectively money that you have saved. You've put it aside, and it's there in savings for a rainy day. Now, if it were just cash, right, you might be more prone to use it on a rainy day. right? And okay, so yeah, it's Bitcoin and it could go up, but you might want to liquidate it if you really need it in an emergency. So my question is, do you? Right? We just had this coronavirus thing that's going down, right? And I'm not sure the world's going to collapse. It could collapse, right? We could lose power and water and internet and, revert to Mad Max Thunderdome. Or we might just be quarantined in our houses for a few weeks, right? That's a possibility. That's a good possibility. So I said to myself, I need some supplies, right? I need to get out and I need a few $100, maybe 500. I need to go buy supplies. So, and it's payday is next week, right? But God willing, I could get quarantined before payday, right? So why don't I run out and buy some supplies, right? Get some crackers, get some bottled water, get some canned soup, whatever. Just be prepared to have to stay inside and not be able to go to the store for a week or two, right? During this quarantine or whatever, self-quarantine, right? Doesn't it make sense for me to liquidate a little bit of that Bitcoin that I've been holding in an emergency? And it might not be this emergency. It could be something else. My car breaks down. I need to get it repaired. I could struggle, right? But why not liquidate some of that Bitcoin, even though you want to hold it until it makes you a millionaire, but you've effectively managed to, because you're a hodler, you've managed to effectively put aside $10,000 worth of crypto. Why not dip into it when you need it? Yeah, you got tax issues to think about, right? You just made a taxable sale when you sold your Bitcoin and you cashed out, right? That's a consideration. But is it really such a big consideration that you won't liquidate when you need the money or just want the money, right? Maybe you want to buy yourself something special. You've been hodling Bitcoin, putting Bitcoin away for the last 3 years. Why not, buy yourself a new suit for your sister's wedding out of your Bitcoin? Why not? Yes, you're going to have less Bitcoin, right? You've got 1 Bitcoin and then you sell part of it and you've only got 0.9 Bitcoin. It's not the end of the world, right? If Bitcoin goes to 100,000, okay, instead of having 100,000, you'll only have 90,000, right? You'll miss out on some of those like heavy gains down the road. But is that the end of the world, right? And I know it's painful to spend a little of your Bitcoin, especially if it's less than what you paid for it, right? Ugh. What if you've been buying Bitcoin at 10,000 and then Bitcoin goes down to 7,000 and then you need some money and then you want to liquidate? Then it's more gut wrenching, right? But why not? Why wouldn't you want to liquidate a little bit of your crypto in order to use it in the real world if you really need it, right? Yes, maybe the corona thing is blown out of proportion. I'm just using that as a good example of a time when you might need some money. And yeah, it may or may not be a real emergency, right? But you might, right? So I wanted to talk a little bit about liquidation and how do you liquidate, right? I think I've done this over the last couple weeks, but I want to kind of keep going through it just so you guys can get a feel for moving crypto around in the other direction, right? So how would I liquidate? Well, one of the easiest ways for me to liquidate is, for me, is crypto.com. So I can take, let's see, what do I got here? I don't have anything I can liquidate right now. All right, well, let's do Ethereum. Let's do a little bit of Ethereum. We won't do all of it, right? And the reason I chose Ethereum is because it moves quick for some reason. We could do Bitcoin too. We'll do both, right? just for purposes of demonstration. All right, so we'll start with Bitcoin. All right, so I want to liquidate this Bitcoin. Not all of it, some of it. And you can use my example as all or part, right? But let's just say that I need 20 bucks. And I don't have it, right? But I have Bitcoin, right? So what am I going to do? Let's throw up my phone here. Oops. That's kind of weird. It's going to work. Glory be. Huh. It actually worked. All right, so the first thing I need to do when I want to send some Bitcoin is I need an address, right? First thing you want to do when after you write your letter and you put it in an envelope, you want to write the address on the envelope. So when you give it to the mailman, he knows where to take it. Same with Bitcoin, right? So we want to get that address before we send it, right? You got to have the address on the envelope before you put it in the mailbox. So with Bitcoin, if we're going to send some Bitcoin, we need the address first. So we go to the place where we're sending the Bitcoin first. In this case, Crypto.com, right? We want to send some Bitcoin. Now, the interesting thing, too, about Crypto.com is they've improved their interface since last week. So, and I'll show you what I mean. I guess the app had a little update. One thing is they have this dust feature up there at the top, which I'm not going to do. I'm going to do a standalone video for that. But they do have a dust converter now. Right there in the top right, those two arrows with the yellow dot will convert your dust. So I'll do a separate video on that. But let's go into Bitcoin, right? So there's Bitcoin. Going to tap Bitcoin. And then down there, up there where it says transfer, I'm going to hit transfer. And then this is new, right? It used to just like pop up and it wasn't clear whether you were depositing or withdrawing. Now they have this little intermediary step. We're going to do a deposit, right? Because we're going to deposit Bitcoin from our wallet into this account. So I hit deposit, right? And there's the address. That's the address I want to send some Bitcoin to. So how do I get this address into my Ledger Live, right? My Ledger Live is over here on my computer. My Bitcoin address is on my phone. So how I could just eyeball it, right? I could just do a send and type this thing in by eyeballing it, but that's for the birds, right? That's prone to error. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to share the address with myself. All right, and I'll send it. And close that. I just heard it come in. Let's go to our mail. All right, and there we go. And that's the address we're looking for. We'll copy this. And then we'll go back over to Ledger Live. We'll get this down. Now we've got the address we're sending to, right? So trying to type in a Bitcoin address is a little bit problematic. And there are other ways to do it. I send an email to myself. You could text yourself. There's other ways to do it. I don't know if texting would help. Because if I was coming into the phone, I could scan the address. If I was sending from the phone to Ledger, I could scan my Ledger QR code. But we're going the opposite direction. We're going from the desktop to the phone. Right? So we'll hit continue here. Now we'll put in the amount. We could send max, right? I could send it all. I'm not going to send it all, but you could if you wanted to. If you want to just liquidate the entire wallet, we're not going to do that. I'll just put in $20. All right, I'll hit continue. There's the overview of the transaction. We'll hit continue again. And then I need to enter the Bitcoin app on my device, right? I think we're still in VE chain, right? So we navigate using one button until we get to quit, and then we hit both buttons. And then we'll just navigate over to Bitcoin, and then we'll hit both buttons, right? And then Ledger recognizes that we're in the Bitcoin app, and now it gives me the send interface, right? There's the review, right? It's telling me it wants me to review the transaction, so I need to review it by advancing to the next screen. That little arrow right there says, use this button to move to the next screen. There's the Bitcoin amount. Move to the next screen, hit one button. There's the address I'm sending to. Confirm it's correct. One more advance. There, it says accept. I'll hit both buttons. And now I have to confirm the fee. It splits it up into two. Not really sure why, but it does, right? We have to deal with it. There's the fees. And I hit accept and send. And then the transaction is broadcast, right? Now let's do Ethereum. Let's go over to crypto.com. Whoops. Let's hit Ethereum. Let's hit transfer. Let's do deposit, same thing. There's that Ethereum address. I'm going to share it with myself. I'll hit share, mail to me. I'll send it. All right. Let's go back over to our browser. The email just came in. There's the Ethereum address. This. Copy. Okay. And then accounts. Whoops. Oh, yeah. Yeah, we need to send the Ethereum, right? So we're going to hit Ethereum. We're going to hit send. And now we paste in that address. We're sending to this Ethereum address. All right, I'm going to hit continue. I could send it all if I wanted to, but I'm not. Just going to do 20 of it. All right, I'm going to hit continue. All right, there's my overview of the transaction. I'll hit continue once again. And now I need to be in the Ethereum app. So I'm still in Bitcoin. So I'm going to navigate over using one button until I get to quit. And then I'll hit both buttons. Now I'm back at the home screen. I'm going to navigate using one button until I get to Ethereum. Hit both buttons again. And now I'm in the Ethereum app. Ledger Live is happy. I'm going to hit continue. And now I get the review interface. Ethereum is slightly different. It gives you one review. So we get review transaction. We navigate with one button. And then we look at the address. I'm sorry, that's the amount, pardon me. We use one button to look at the address. Those are the fees. And then accept and send. We have to only go through that once with Ethereum. And there we go. We're done. All right, and then we can wait for it to end up over in crypto.com. In fact, let me show you here. Crypto.com, when you do Ethereum, it usually happens pretty quick. I think that Ethereum was already there. Yeah. So I'll just kind of leave that up there for a second. There it is. See, you have a pending ETH deposit, right? So the ETH comes in pretty quick. And then I get the email alert. And you can go to the Ethereum wallet and scroll down a little bit, and you can see the pending Ethereum deposit. And then in a few minutes, it'll tell you that it's been received or confirmed or whatever, and then it'll be in the balance, right? The Bitcoin generally takes a little bit longer. All right. Now let's do a liquidate to Coinbase. I need to enter this password here real quick. Hope I didn't screw that one up. Damn it. I knew it. Come on, Rex. You can do it. Oh, I did it. Okay. All right. So let's see here. Yeah, let's do Coinbase because that's a pretty common place, right? A lot of people have Coinbase accounts, unless you're in Hawaii. Eek. All right. Now I'll just get my Google Authenticator code, get myself logged in. Always set up two-factor authentication on any account that it supports it, right? Not just your cryptocurrency exchanges, but your email accounts, your Facebook account, your Amazon account, anything that you can get that supports two-factor, all right? So here we are on Coinbase. Let's go to Portfolio. Let's scroll down here to Bitcoin, right? And we want to do a receive. So instead of deposit, Coinbase calls it receive. So we'll hit receive. You'll acknowledge that. There's the address. This is going to be a little easier because I'm using these both on my computer. So I can just copy this into my clipboard, swing back over to Ledger Live, go over to my Bitcoin, hit send, paste in the address of Coinbase, hit continue. I'm going to put 20 bucks. Continue again. Continue. And then, right, where are we? Upside down. We're still in Ethereum. Let's get out of Ethereum. Let's hit navigate using one button till we get to quit. Hit both buttons. All right, let's go back to Bitcoin. Hit both buttons. All right, Ledger Live is happy. All right, now we're at the review transaction step. Right, I'll use one button to navigate. There's the amount of Bitcoin. There's the address I'm sending to Coinbase. There's accept. Now I confirm the fees, right? There's the amount, and accept and send, and hit both buttons. Now my Bitcoin's on the way over to Coinbase, right? Now let's do some Ethereum, right? So we'll go back up to Portfolio, go down here to Ethereum. Don't use Ethereum Classic, use Ethereum, unless of course you have Ethereum Classic, but we don't. We're just using regular old Ethereum. Let's hit receive. I understand. There's the address. Let's hit copy. Let's go back over to Ledger Live. Let's go back to accounts. Ethereum. Let's hit send. Paste in that address. The ETH was confirmed on crypto.com. Right? So I'll show you the wallet in a minute. Let's do 20. We'll hit continue. Continue again. Now we need to get out of Bitcoin. So we'll navigate using the button, one button, till we get to quit. Hit both buttons. Let's go over to Ethereum. Hit both buttons. Learn to navigate this thing. It's not that difficult once you get the hang of it. It's a little wonky because it's a tiny screen and you don't have a keyboard, right? Just two buttons. But you can do it. It's not that difficult once you get the hang of it. Let's review this transaction. We use one button to scroll through the amount, the address, the fees, and accept and send. And there we go. And we did it. All right, and let's check, let's put this down. Let's check my crypto.com. I got the Ethereum now. So you'll notice that the balance adjusted, and now it's no longer pending, right? It's in the wallet. So there we go. Bitcoin might take a little longer. I don't think the Bitcoin is 0 right now. Whoops. Yeah, it's not even pending on the BTC yet. It might take a little while. Maybe longer than we're here. But it will get there, right? It always does. It's never let me down. If you use your, if you take it step by step, make sure you have the address correct. Cut and paste is always good. So make sure you're not typing it wrong or anything weird like that. Let's go back to portfolio. Did something go up yet? Looks like I thought I had more or less. No, it's the same. The Bitcoin hasn't come in. Here's the Ethereum, still 0, right? Bitcoin, yeah. See, there it's pending, right? So we can see that I have some Bitcoin pending in my Coinbase. All right, let's go back to portfolio. Let's go down here to Ethereum. I've got some Ethereum pending, right? Now, for Coinbase, we want to cash out, right? We're just not putting it in Coinbase for our health. Our goal is to cash out. So we would take the Bitcoin and we would go to trade. And then we would trade the Bitcoin. We'd sell it for cash, right? You'd sell all your Bitcoin, right? And then it would be in your cash account. And then from cash, I can get rid of that. Your US dollar account, you would hit withdraw. And withdraw takes that whatever you've got in the US dollar account would go into your bank. It takes a few days, but it will end up in your bank, right? So that's your Coinbase route for a withdrawal. Now, Crypto.com, it's a little quicker, right? With Crypto.com, what I would do is, let's say I needed cold hard cash, right? I'd go to Crypto.com, I'd hit card down there, right? I'd hit top up, and I could top up with my Ethereum, whatever Ethereum I had. Now, in this case, you need to sort of look at what you've got first. So I've got 82 Ethereum right now. So I could hit top up 82, right? Or 80, whatever, as long as it's below the minimum or whatever I've got, right? It can't be more than I have, right? So I could use $80 worth of Ethereum to top up the card. And then the balance of the card right now is $16.92. You can see I used it at Meyer today, right? But I could spend the Bitcoin anywhere that Visa's accepted, or I could just go to an ATM machine and withdraw cash. I could do that too. Unfortunately, because it's a non-bank card, your ATM will charge you a fee, whatever it is, like $3. But let's say it's $500. I don't mind spending $3 to get $500 in my hand, right? So that's your and I can do that within minutes, right? I don't have to wait a day or two for like Coinbase. That's why I started using this for all my cash outs, because they're instantaneous. Like I can immediately withdraw cash from an ATM, or I can just spend it, right? If I need it. Let's say I needed it for those supplies we were talking about. We would just take it over to Meyer and buy, sanitary wipes and bleach and crackers and soup, whatever we need for our hunker down into our post World War III love bunker, right? To withstand the zombie apocalypse. All right, so I've been babbling. So let's see what you guys are up to. We'll keep an eye on Coinbase. And I'm sorry if for some of you this is too simple, but practice makes perfect, right? If you do this over and over again on a regular basis, then you'll get the hang of it, right? Now, I'm making my life complicated in a way by moving all this crypto back and forth, right? but I just do it for your benefit. You may want to save these for when you need them, but it's a good idea to like go through the motions and see me doing it so you get the hang of it. All right, let me see what you guys are talking about. Love the Ledger X, but no ADA support. Well, you can store ADA private keys on a Ledger X, but you have to use ADA Lite to view your balances, right? So if we go to ADA Lite, of course, you would download the, let's see here, manager. You would download the app. I got to be at the home screen here. We got to get out of whatever app we're in. And then Ledger Live will enter the manager. And there's Cardano. You can install the Cardano app on your Ledger Nano. And I already have it. Right, there's my Cardano. Right, but there is no Ledger Live support for Cardano. Right, I would have to go over here to ADA Lite. I would have to enter the Cardano app and then continue to ADA Lite and tell them I want to use hardware and that I want to use Ledger. And then you'll notice there that I'm exporting the public key. It doesn't really give me any indication, but I have to hit both buttons. And both buttons again, and then it opens up the ADA Lite. And you can see there that it's empty, but that I have used this before. There's a transaction history. So this is an active wallet. It just happens to be empty right now because I moved it into Daedalus so I could do some staking. But if you want to store your ADA on a Ledger Nano X, you can do it. You just have to use ADA Lite or Yori, whatever that is. It's a browser extension. I'm not a big fan of browser extensions. Too many malware browser extensions out there. I tend to want to... There's malware sites too. So just be careful, right? You know, look it up. Make sure you're using the right site. Like, come on, what's it doing here? Oh, well. I don't know why it won't. Oh, maybe. Anyway. Let's do ADA Lite. Oh, ADA Ledger. Right, so there's ADA Ledger. The Ledger website will tell you the right website for using your ADA private keys. So that way you don't go to some scam site, right? Magnum Wallet, I guess, also does it. I didn't know about that. But start from somewhere where you can trust before you just willy-nilly, you know, Google some weirdo website that might try to steal your crypto. So Randy has not used his Ledger X yet. Now, the easiest way, if you want to use the Ledger Nano X, it's brand new, is to restore using the backup phrase of your S. And what that does is when you do that, now you've got two devices with the same master private key. So let's do this. Oh, Ledger Nano X. Ah, what happened? Oh, it's okay. This is a great video and a great technique. How to restore to Ledger Nano X from the 24-word recovery phrase of your previous Ledger Nano S. And what that does is all of the wallets that you had on the S are now on the X. And if you were using Ledger Live, all of the accounts still sync up. And now you have two ledgers with the same master private key and all the same wallets, so you can put that Ledger S in a box. That's your backup. And then if your X gets lost, all your crypto is just easily accessible on that S. Now you could do piecemeal, transfer some of what you have on the S over to the X and have two different configurations, but I think if you have an S already and you've got several cryptocurrencies on it and you buy yourself a brand new X, I would do the restore from recovery phrase from the S so that you have two mirrored ledgers. They're mirror images of each other, but then you can start using the X. And then the crypto that you add to the X will be on the S. And like you add new apps, like say you never had Cardano, or let's just say you never had Litecoin on the S. And then you restore from your recovery phrase to your X, and then you put the S in a drawer, and then you add Litecoin to your X and transfer some Litecoin in there, and then you lose your X. Well, you could go over to the S, pull it out of the drawer, install the Litecoin app on there, and boom, you could scan for accounts and that Litecoin would be on there too, right? It's a mirror image of your X. That's a good way to have a backup. If you've never used the X before, right? If you've already set it up standalone and put crypto on there, you don't want to wipe it, and restore from the other recovery phrase, right? So only do that with a brand new, clean, empty Ledger Nano X. You would be using it separately. You would just put the S in a drawer and be, depending on what you mean by secure. If you're worried about like the old accounts and you want to set up the X standalone so it has a different master private key and then transfer all of your Bitcoin over from the old S to the new S, there's really nothing more secure about that. If you're just restoring from the old recovery phrase, you don't have to pay any transfer fees, and you immediately have access to all of your wallets on the brand new machine. Brian H., that's kind of funny.
That's one.
What was it? YouTube hid that comment, so I'm going to show because he used the word anus. That's a medical term, right? Who are all these people losing their X's? Well, it's funny. Having a ledger and dealing with cryptocurrency requires a great amount of precision, right? You have to be more precise than you normally are in your life. People stumble through life losing their car keys and their wallets and their ATM cards and, their phones and all that. It's like, but the ledger can be replaced if you lose it. And it might not be that you lost it. It might be that you dropped it in water, or you stepped on it, or it flaked on you, right? You were in the middle of an update and it flaked on you. You could always order another X and restore, but why do that when you've got the old S in the drawer that has all the wallets on there? I have the original. I had two Ledger S's, but I have a Ledger S in a drawer that has all the private keys that this X has on it. It's my backup, right? What if Bitcoin's shooting to the moon and you want to liquidate and your X malfunctions? Just go to the drawer and pull out the S. You can still put a different passphrase on it. You can restore with the same seed phrase and put a different pin code on there. Oh, okay. Randy's saying he's already set it up with a new seed phrase. So my suggestion is moot at this point. Like I said, if you've already set it up with a new seed phrase, then you're probably better off just keeping it the way it is. And I'm assuming that you're either putting new crypto in there or you're transferring it from the S to the X. But I did a whole video on transferring from the S to the X, and somebody wrote in the comments, why are you going through all that when you could have just restored from the S seed phrase? And all your wallets would just automatically be on there without having to transfer anything manually. They would just like be a mirror image. It's all up to you, however you want to do it. Because like I said, I also have a video where I do it piecemeal. Right here. That was the first video. How to transfer all of your cryptocurrency assets from Ledger S to Ledger Nano X. And that one I did piecemeal, right? I set up the X as new and I transferred. So maybe that's the video that you really should check out, right? Oh, the X is still in the box. Good for you. So what I would do, watch both videos and decide which video you think is better for you. Like I said, I did that, the first video I just linked there, I did that one first. And then someone suggested in the comments, oh, why don't you just like restore from the seed phrase of your S? So there are two techniques. You choose. Guys, I'm running over. I think I need to wake my wife up and get her some pork chops. Scott, I hope your pork chops turned out good. David, I hope you think about maybe liquidating if you feel like it. Don't feel like you have to live like a hermit when you've got some Bitcoin stashed away. Live a little. Maybe just liquidate $100 worth of your Bitcoin and go bowling. You know, take yourself out for dinner. Have a good time. So just stuff to think about. You know, we store crypto. We save crypto. We hope to get mega rich someday. But it's also money that we've got stashed away for a rainy day. And when that rainy day comes, yeah, we might not end up with 100,000. We'll only end up with 90,000 or 80,000. But, you know, we need to learn to enjoy life while we have it too, right? All right, guys, I'm going to sign out. It's great being here. Don't forget, we do it every week, every Friday, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Join me again for our live Q&A from Michigan. I'll try to be better prepared next time. If you like this video, give me a thumbs up. If you'd like to subscribe to my channel, I would appreciate it. When you subscribe, there's a little bell that you can click that will allow you to be alerted whenever I post new content. Once again, thanks for joining me and hope to see you again soon.